Shriram, you must have heard of the ant and grasshopper, Aesop's fable. The ant was working hard, and the grasshopper ridiculed the ant. And grasshopper told the ant, "You don't know how to enjoy life." But the poor ant was working very hard, very, very hard. And winter came, and the ant survived because ant stored up a lot of food, and the ant was always hardworking. The grasshopper, meanwhile, was just freaking out, having a nice time. And when the winter came, there was no food, and the grasshopper did not save any food, and it died in the cold. So, this is the Aesop's fable, and we were told that we must work hard. Now, let us listen to the Indian version of the ant and grasshopper. Okay, so you know the original story. Now, the Indian version. The ant works very hard in the heat all summer, building its house and laying up supplies for the winter. And the grasshopper thinks the ant is a fool, and the grasshopper is laughing, dancing, going to pubs and having a nice time. Come winter, the shivering grasshopper calls a press conference, okay, and demands to know why the ant should be allowed to be warm and well fed while others are cold and starving. NDTV, Times Now, CNN, IBN, BBC, CNN, Asianet, all these fellows show up to provide pictures of the shivering grasshopper next to a next to the ant, a well-fed ant in a comfortable home with a table filled with food. The world is stunned by the sharp contrast. How can this be that this poor grasshopper is allowed to suffer so? Arundhati Roy is writing a book also. She is staging a demonstration in front of the ant's house. Medha Patkar goes on a fast along with other grasshoppers, demanding that grasshoppers be relocated to warmer climates during winter. Mayavati is saying that this is injustice done to minorities. And Owaisi is also there screaming loudly. The internet is flooded with online petitions seeking support for the grasshoppers. And the CPM in Kerala immediately passes a law preventing ants from working hard in the heat so as to bring about equality of poverty among ants and grasshoppers. The railway minister allocates more free coaches to grasshoppers on the Indian Railway, and more reservations are offered to grasshoppers. Many laptops are given away free, many things are given away free. And railway trains are also named Grasshopper Rath. Finally, there will be a judicial committee that sits down and drafts the Prevention of Terrorism Against Grasshoppers. Prevention of Terrorism Against Grasshoppers Act with immediate effect. And the education minister makes special reservation for grasshoppers in educational institutions, government services, and in many other facilities, so that they get sufficient, shops and discounts and all that. The ant is fined for failing to comply with POTAGA, that is the Prevention of Terrorism Against Grasshoppers Act, and having nothing left to pay his retroactive taxes. This is a retroactive tax. That means today it is passed, but it will be effective from 3 or 4 years back. So these kind of disgusting retroactive laws will be passed, and everything of the ant will be taken away, confiscated. The ant's home is confiscated by the government and handed over to the grasshoppers in a huge ceremony nationwide. It is a nationwide telecast. NDTV, Times Now, CNN, IBN, BBC, CNN, all these people will telecast that across the world. And your Arundhati Roy will call it a triumph of justice, and so many other Congress ministers will say this is true justice, socialistic justice, and the CPM calls it a revolutionary resurgence of the downtrodden. And many years later, the ant had already migrated to America and Australia, New Zealand, Scandinavian nations, and there the ants have set up billion-dollar companies in many disciplines in Silicon Valley, and tens of thousands of grasshoppers still die of starvation despite reservation in several places in India. Hmm? And many grasshoppers are still very sick. And finally, as a result of losing a lot of hard working ants and feeding the grasshoppers, Bharat is still a developing country. Hmm? And it will continue to remain a developing country. And well, if I say anything more, I think I might get into trouble. So let's stop this here. Jai Shri Ram.